everybody, welcome to our second workshop. My name's Garrett. I'm the founder of Ambition in Motion. I'm so happy, I'm so excited, I'm so grateful to have you here for our second workshop. I am pumped for you to experience our guest speaker later on this evening. But before we get started, I want to touch up on a couple of quick points. So you are starting your mentor relationship. That is awesome. Hopefully you've had your first conversation. I'd love to learn about it. Post maybe some of the key talking points that you've had for your first meeting in the comment section. Would love to learn about how that first meeting has gone. But yeah, this workshop's all about how to network in a genuine way and really make the most out of it. This workshop should be about an hour long. As a reminder, I'm going to ask you 3 questions during the duration of this workshop. Once we have asked those questions, I'll expect you to answer them. That's how you get credit for participating and being here at the workshops. I'm really excited for you to experience our guest speaker tonight. I'm really excited to dive into this. Now, this is what's really key. I mean, genuine networking is such a pivotal component to building rapport, to getting job offers, to getting promotions. Really, if you can hone this skill, if you can hone this ability, you will be set professionally, because ultimately, at the end of the day, your hard skills, that being your ability to crunch numbers, to do some form of engineering, to do some form of science, like all those things are pretty good. They're very easy to measure. So it's very clear whether or not you are better or worse than somebody on a hard skill. But your soft skills are much more difficult to measure. But those soft skills are really what's going to set you apart. I mean, as they say, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And this is the workshop about how you can know more people and have a stronger bond with them, because then it goes to your reputation. Because if you have a reputation for treating people like garbage, you're not going to have a great reputation. People are going to want to help connect you with other people. If you come in with low energy, if you come in with a bad state, if you come in talking trash about other people, you're not going to put yourself in a good position. And so I want to be very clear. When it comes to networking, when it comes to building a relationship, it is not all about the transaction. If you're coming into a networking situation, you're thinking to yourself, what is in it for me? You are not going to have a positive outcome. I promise you on that. I really want to be clear. It's not all about landing the job or the internship. Sometimes it's about building the relationship and then playing the long game, because ultimately that may turn into an opportunity because they built a rapport with you. But if you burn them, or if you make them feel like you are using them to get to a location that you would like to be, they can smell that on you. They can smell it from a mile away. And that is not great. As they say, desperation reeks. You do not want to be desperate. You don't want to be perceived as someone that's a user or a taker. You want to be a giver. You want to be someone who gives energy to relationships. The first place to start is being genuine with how you talk to people and how you build rapport with people. Now, this is something we talked about last time, but it is so important, and that is the 3 keys to success in this program. That is honing your strategy, your story, and your state. As we've said before, your state is most important. So physically, how are you? Physically, what is going on with your world? Physically, I don't care what is happening. If you recently broke up with your significant other, if your dog just died, if you got some bad news, I don't care what's going on. If you get up, if you shake it out, if you let it loose, you will get yourself into a positive state. So I want to challenge you to do that right now. I want you to get up, and I want you to shake it loose. I want you to scream at the top of your lungs. Just go, yeah, just let it out, let it loose, let it go. Because what you're doing is you're releasing blood to your brain. You're releasing endorphins. You're getting yourself into a state conducive for retaining information. If you're just sitting there on a couch or in a chair in a slumped over position, your likelihood of retaining any of the information we talk about tonight is severely diminished. But if you come in standing up, moving around, getting your blood flowing, you are much more likely to retain this information. Have you ever found it difficult in a classroom setting to remember what your professor says if you've been sitting for 3 hours? That's why 3-hour lectures really struggle to work. They're not very effective because people are not moving around. Your brain needs blood to retain information. So get up, get moving, get out, get loose. Now, the second key is your story. What is the story you tell yourself for why you will or will not be successful? I promise you right now, you will achieve up to the goals that you set for yourself in life and no higher. So you might as well shoot for the stars and land on the moon than shoot for the moon and end up in nowhere. Because if you are not focused about where you want to be, or really having a big, hairy, crazy, audacious goal for yourself, what are you doing? Like, are you just saying to yourself, like, I'm cool with winding up short, with, settling down and just settling for everything in my life? If that's the case, this program's not for you. I can tell you that right now. This program's not for you if you're trying to settle. But if you're someone that wants to go for it, if you want to go big, if you want to go out there for the opportunities that you want to see in your life, this program is absolutely for you. Let this program be a springboard. Let your mentor be a Sherpa that's guiding you up this mountain of life and success and help you get to where you want to be. This is someone who wants to guide you, that wants to help you. They wouldn't have signed up for this program if they weren't interested in seeing you succeed. So I want to be very clear with you. What is the story for why you will be successful? Understand that, hone it, be prepared. In fact, I would challenge you to write this down. Write it on a piece of paper. It's more likely to stick in your mind if you write it on a piece of paper of where you want to be. Stick it up on your wall. Stick it up on your desk. Stick it up on your dresser. Stick it up on your mirror. Something that's going to remind you of where you want to be in 1 month, 3 months, 1 year from now. That will help you set the target of where you want to go. Because if you don't set these goals, you're going to be on a path that's got really no clear outcome of where you want to go. So the last part is your strategy. What are you going to do to set yourself apart? Now, when it comes to strategies, I'm a big believer in routines. When I say routines, I mean literally getting into a daily habit that you can practice regularly so then you can be better at a skill. We think about habits sometimes in a negative light because we think about people just being addicted to bad actions, but I believe that habits can also be attributed in a positive light as well. What is a positive habit you can get into to help you build more genuine relationships? I believe one thing you can do is to be intentional about having an informational interview every single week with a new person, with a new professional in your field. You can leverage LinkedIn. You could go to a professor's office hours. You could talk to a friend of yours whose parent works in the field that you're interested in working towards, or a family friend that you know works in the field that you're interested in working towards. If you set up one informational interview every single week, and by an informational interview, I want to be very clear. This is a conversation. This isn't an interview. You're not trying to get a job from this person. You're just trying to get knowledge about what this work is like. Set up one of those a week. I can promise you they're going to start making introductions for you. They're going to start helping you get to where you want to be. By the way, if your goals change over time, that's okay. That's totally okay. You can share with them how your goals have changed, and they're going to want to keep helping you over time. I'll give you a perfect example of this. As an entrepreneur, I set goals all the time. I have a board of mentors. I literally have about 50 to 100 mentors that I send once every 3 months an update of what's going on with the business. Here's the thing, though. I've pivoted this business many, many times. Now, initially, when I first got started, I was thinking to myself, like, oh, well, they're my mentors. Like, if I tell them that I've pivoted, will they think I'm a total failure? Will they not want to help me anymore? What I found is that is absolutely not the case. They're always there to support me. Mentors that have been with me for 5+ years still give me guidance, still help make introductions, still help me out and support me as my mission has grown, as my goals have grown. That is the nature of mentoring relationships. That is the nature of relationships in general. You should keep your network up to date with what is going on in your world because they will want to see you succeed. But the key is that you ask them for something specific. When I meet with my mentors or when I send them an email, I ask for something very, very specific. I don't say, hey, if you know anybody in XYZ space, if you could introduce me, would love that. Why? Because it's not at the top of their mind. What I'll do is I'll physically go onto their LinkedIn profile, look at who they're connected with and say, hey, I noticed that you're connected with Jane Doe, John Doe, Shelby Doe, and Jenny Doe. I know that you may not be connected with all 4 of those people, but if you are connected with one of them, would you mind introducing me? Here's an email template that you could copy and paste to introduce me. Now I've made it extremely specific and easy for them to take an action step to help me out. And that is how you can continue to grow your relationships, your network, and build rapport with people. And just keep them in the loop of what's going on in your world. So I just want to be very clear. It's about building genuine relationships. And it's about when you're building those genuine relationships and then you're asking them for introductions or connecting with more people through those relationships, being very specific and making it as easy as possible for them to help you out. I really want to stress this. It's so important. Genuine networking. If you can take anything from this whole program, if it's genuine networking, and by genuine networking, I mean really listening, taking an active and keen interest in who you are speaking with, you are going to be set. You're going to be in a great position. Because at the end of the day, it's not your elevator pitch. It's not going to be anything about you that makes someone interested in you. It's going to be about your ability to listen to them. In fact, I can tell you multiple times where I didn't say a word in a conversation. I just nodded my head yes and asked questions about things that somebody else has said. And at the end of the conversation, whether that be 30 minutes or 60 minutes long, they said, man, Garrett, you are such a great conversationalist. Or, gosh, I feel like I just had such a great conversation with you. And the funniest thing about it is I didn't actually say a word. The point is this: people love to talk about themselves Why? Because people are really interested in things that they're interested in. People wouldn't choose to spend the time that they have on this earth in the way that they did unless they thought it was the most optimum way of spending their time. Therefore, things that interest them, things that they choose to spend their time on, are things that interest them and ultimately make you interesting to them because you've taken an interest in those actions and activities. I hope that makes sense. If you want to rewatch that, take that back 30 seconds because I think it's really important. People, ultimately, at the end of the day, people care about themselves. People care about things that they are interested in because they've chosen to spend the time that they have on those tasks. So with that said, I'm excited to jump in to our guest speaker this evening. Really, the whole point of this workshop is about genuine networking. By the way, if you have not connected with me on LinkedIn, please do. I'll add you to our LinkedIn group where we discuss different topics and just you can add different topics, ask any questions, and expand us to our entire Ambition in Motion network. Connect with me. I'll add you to the group. But yeah, I'm so excited to get started. Let's jump into our guest speaker this evening.
Hey everybody, I'm so excited to dive into our workshop today. Our topic is how to network in a genuine way. So I know a lot of you are college students or maybe recent college graduates and you're early into your career. Maybe you've never had a professional opportunity before. Maybe you've had an internship. Maybe you've had some part-time jobs. But I know from my own experience and just recalling back to being a college student that the professional world and that transition from college to professional world is very different. Like just because you had a high GPA in college does not mean that the professional world is ready to say, here you go, here's a job offer, no questions asked, you've got a strong GPA, that's all you needed. No, what we realize is that it's all about who you know and what you know and how you build relationships with people, as that can be a major catalyst to you actually landing the professional job that you want. And just because an opportunity isn't an opportunity right now does not mean it can't be an opportunity down in the future. And so if you mistreat people along the way, it's not going to be a good look on you if all of a sudden down the line you're like, oh my gosh, Josh, how have you been? I've forgotten. He's like, oh, I remember, because you didn't treat me right during that time. So we got a great leader with us today here. We got Allyson Cline to share with us a little bit about her perspective of networking in a genuine way. Allyson, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the offer to be able to speak to the future leaders of the world.
I love that. So, Allyson, maybe if you could just give us a little bit of background into your career trajectory. How did you get to where you're at today? What were some of the things that you went through, and what were some doors that opened up for you that maybe you didn't even realize would open up for you as you got to your career path today?
But it was intentional. I had a path that I knew that I wanted, and I put myself in some positions where the opportunities would open up. I started not in HR, but I ended up in HR because I saw that that's something that I was good at. It was something that not only I could do, but I enjoyed doing. And I always believe that that's the right direction when you have joy in what you do, and not just because you can do it. And so, networking was key to a lot of things that I did. And I was asked to do a lot of things that I didn't get paid to do it. I just did it because I know it opened up doors for other things to happen. And sometimes I continue to see myself doing that. Yeah.
Oh, so what were you doing before you were doing HR?
I was a bank teller.
Really? How did that transition to HR happen? What happened? That's cool. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, I was a bank teller working for a small little bank in Arkansas, but I actually serviced our VP of HR. And he was one that came down and he opened up accounts with me on an ongoing basis. So I knew I didn't want to be a bank teller all my life. And I'm like, okay, he's the guy with all the opportunities. And I got to know a little bit about him through the access that I had, because resources are important. And so when he would come down, I just started having conversations with him. And that conversation, one day he asked me to go out to lunch with him. He's like, I've got an opportunity that I want to talk to you about. And that's how I ended up in HR. Yeah.
Wow. That's so, how long ago was that? What happened in that whole, were you totally shocked? I guess a couple of questions. What was your education or degree up to that point to being a bank teller and then transitioning to HR? What did that look like? How did you make that jump?
So I was in college at the time.
Okay,
so
got it.
I was a senior in college, looking for what's next. like most people are. And I didn't know what was next. I came from a very small community, but I knew that if I put myself in the right place with the right individual, they could help open up some doors or just give me some insight that I didn't have full access to. And again, he was the one. I knew his role. I knew what he did. I knew his team was the one that made the decisions for the bank that I was working for. And I enjoyed the bank. So I'm like, if there's an opportunity, he'd be the right one that can guide me and direct me. And boy, did I get lucky. Yeah.
Okay, so when that happened, and I love this story because I think it shows the power of just being professionally aware and the power of being open and curious about what the next step could be. Because I think a lot of students, they get a degree, let's say in marketing or economics, or they get a degree in finance or even HR, and they think, oh, I'm going right into that career path. That's it. That's my only, and they put on blinders because they don't see what could be out and around them. So I guess, let me ask an initial question before that. What was your degree when you were studying in college? And did it have anything to do with HR?
Has absolutely nothing to do with HR.
What was your
It was
degree in college?
criminal justice and political science.
Wow.
I wanted to be an attorney.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so VP of HR comes to you, says, what did you do to express that you were interested in the role?
What I did was I just started asking questions. I'm like, oh, so you come through my line every day. And when you come through my line, you're opening up bank accounts for different people. What is it exactly are you doing? So I had insight to something that he was doing something for new hires, but not exactly. And I said, well, that sounds interesting. I'd love to learn more. And again, it was just the casual conversations. I get 5 minutes with him each transaction. And those 5 minutes, I just made it worthwhile. And then I made it more personal because some people forget the personal side of it, right? You can go through the transactional side, but then I started asking about, so if you're in HR, what is it that your family do? Are they following in your path, and different things like that. And I think he was really intrigued that this lady, this teller that's supposed to just transaction with money is asking me all of these different questions. And and it led to an invite for lunch.
Well, and what it does is it shows that you showed curiosity, like you cared about your VP of HR in that moment in time when probably most other tellers were like, cool, I'm just going to open up some accounts like every other day, any other task, not really thinking twice about it. So that's really, really interesting. So I love to, let me ask the students a question. Post this in the comments section. Who is somebody that personally, professionally, or otherwise, that you think their work is genuinely fascinating? You may not even necessarily want to work in that field, but you are fascinated by the work that they do. Maybe you don't even know all the ins and outs of it, but you're fascinated or intrigued. Post in the comment section, who is that for you? I would love to learn who that is for you all, because I think that could be a starting step for curiosity. Because when we opened up this conversation, we talked about how do we network in a genuine way, and how oftentimes students, if someone's not hiring at this juncture, it can be easy for students to write them off like as if there's no benefit to, building the bond or the relationship there. Do you have any stories or examples of times where there wasn't maybe an immediate opportunity with somebody, but like it developed over time because you kept the relationship going?
So, I have a lot of meetings that I meet with individuals or I meet with people, and I don't know where they're going to end up. But I put all of my efforts into it because who knows how it's going to benefit me or the person that I'm engaged with. And probably the one that I have more so than not is in my career, I was a consultant for a company, and I was in Dallas-Fort Worth area at that time. And this office was in Austin, Texas. Little did I know that I was going to end up in Austin, Texas. But I just built a relationship with one of my key contacts, and we would just, even when it wasn't business related, I just ping her and just say, hey, how are things going? And we just stayed in touch. We built again, I'm very personable. So I build relationships not only from a business perspective, but also from a personal perspective, because you can't have one without the other. People say you can, but you need to have some personal connections as well. And then when my husband got the transfer to Austin, Texas, I had a contact. I reached out to her. She helped me introduce me to some people within the industry. I got a job, and then she followed me throughout my whole career until she retired. So yeah, so that's one that I had no intentions. I did not think I was going to end up in Austin, Texas. I thought the DFW area was where I was going to hang my hat, but lo and behold, 20 plus years later, here I am in Austin, Texas.
Was that what you were doing immediately before what you're doing right now?
I was consulting on the HR side once I moved to the DFW area. Mm-hmm.
You mean the Austin area?
Yes, before I moved to the Austin area.
And how did you land this current role that you're in?
The current role I was in, I was consulting again. I left corporate America. After you've done HR for so long, you want to go out and do something different. And this was one of my clients. So they were one of my clients. I was the executive coach for their CEO. And he and we built a great relationship, and I was his executive coach for about 3 to 4 years. And within that time frame, the company kept growing. And he's like, I think I need a full-time HR person. And he's like, and I think you fit the bill. He's like, they know you, they feel comfortable, they trust you. And he's like, are you ready to come back to corporate? And it took me a while because I'm like, I kind of like doing what I'm doing, but I also got a chance to, see the company, see how it was led. And I felt that it was the right place if I was going to go back in. Yeah. So that's how I ended up with this opportunity.
It just fall into your lap. That's really cool.
You put yourself in the position, right? You've got to be ready and put yourself in the right positions.
I love that. No, I think that's a really great story for the students to hear, just putting yourself in the right position. So, how can a student convey that they're being genuine when they're networking or putting themselves out there? Is there any tips or suggestions just to show that you genuinely care? Because I think I don't know. I think about career fairs, or back to my time going to career fairs, and it was always felt fake. It always just felt very superficial, and like, I got this elevator pitch, I have to deliver it. And one thing I did was I bucked the trend by just started asking questions like, what if for when you hire a college student, what is the most ideal thing you're looking for from a student? If you could say, like, after 1 year of hiring them, they were successful in their role, what does that look like? And I'd start asking those types of questions. And it started garnering a lot more interest from those recruiters than me coming in and bulldozing in with my elevator pitch. So do you have any tips on how students can be genuine when meeting with recruiters or professionals, especially when they're trying to put themselves out there, that they're interested in a job?
It's great that you asked me that question because when we launched our internship program here about 3 years ago, I actually was the person that the students would meet with. Who would have thought they'd be meeting with the SVP of HR? And I've had some great stories, and I've had some stories I'm like, if they probably knew who I was, they probably would engage with me a little bit differently. But I would always say to students is to be genuine, be who you are, and be comfortable sharing that I don't know much about the company, but here's what I bring to the table. Those are the conversations that I like. I don't want someone to go and read the about my company because I know you've read about my company. And I'm like, okay, this is what everybody's read. And unless you can go into some depth about what you know about the company, then that's great. But if you're just going to give me surface level, I'd much rather you say, hey, I see you're offering internship program. I have an interest, and here's what I bring to the table. I'd like to know more. Those are the conversations that I'm like, I want to talk to that person because that shows confidence in who they are, what they have, the knowledge that they have, and then they will be able to make the decision if we have the right opportunity for them or not, because that's led to many of my students getting internships with us, because when I have those conversations, I'm like, okay, that's a confident person. I want to talk. I want to hear more from that person. So confidence speaks for itself, because I can teach a lot of things, but I can't teach a person to have a great attitude and have confidence in their skills.
Why is confidence so important to you? That's a really cool and interesting trait. And what can a student, especially an apprehensive student who's maybe insecure about their levels of experience or what they've done because they maybe haven't done that much professionally yet, like what can they do to communicate confidence?
To me, confidence means that you got common sense about yourself, and that also means that you are resourceful. It means you've got, you know what you don't know. And that's important, because some students come off because they've got a degree, they've just graduated, and they think they have all the answers and they're ready to conquer the world. But that student that kind of comes in comfortable enough to say, hey, here's what I offer you, but what do you have for me? And here's what I can do. Here's the skill sets that I can offer your company. That's easy to talk about, because you're now selling me without being a salesperson. You're letting me know, Allyson, I bring to the table, I'm good at people management. I can manage a people process from beginning to the end. Here's what I've done in school. I've done this project. I was a leader on this project, and I took it from this point to here. I had 4 other people working with me, and these are the roles that we had. And we did it for this course, and we got a Raven review from our professor. That's all I really need to know. I know you don't have much work experience because you're in college, and what you do is probably not applicable to what I have a need for. But you've just shown me, 1, that you can walk me through your process. 2, you can walk me through to know that I need all the details to understand if I should be curious to want to know more, because it becomes that storytelling. Now you've gotten my interest. And then secondly, you've shown me that, hey, I may not have the skills that you need, but the skills that I have can probably be adapted to where you can help fine tune and hone those skills and utilize them in a way that will be impactful for your business.
Let me ask the students a question real quick. Post in the comment section, what would you say is your biggest strength? I'd love to learn it. Post in the comments. I think that'll be a cool, it kind of ties into what you're describing right there, Allyson, because I think a lot of students, they're like thinking to themselves like, man, what would my biggest strength or ally or biggest thing that I could offer a business be? And so let's start with strengths. What do you think your biggest strength is, students? Post in the comments. So Allyson, for you, what do you think, what do you do to refine your relationship building skills? Like once you get up to an SVP level, you're pretty high within your experience level and obviously your title. What do you do to refine your skills to make sure that you're always building on your ability to build relationships with people and stay sharp?
I still do a lot of networking. I try to find events where it will put me in places where I'm uncomfortable. So I don't go to places where I am going to know 50% of the participants, because that's a safe zone for me. I go to places that I probably hadn't attended before, that I'm a newbie. So then it requires me to continue to fine tune, to hone in, and to make sure that I'm relevant within that space. And so that's what I do. And again, you will hear me say being intentional. I'm very intentional about the moves that I make, because I only get one chance to get it right. I don't get multiple chances, and my time is very valuable. And I always say when I use the time, I want to make sure I'm using it the right way, that it can help me in many places. But networking is probably the biggest thing. And I try to find those organizations or those networking events that I haven't been to prior. I want to find something new.
I love that. I think that's super interesting. I think that's a great, answer as to why being uncomfortable is so powerful. And I think it's so easy for students to fall into this trap of just, sticking with wherever my comfort zone is. Why is getting out of that why is getting into the discomfort zone so important? Like what opportunities could I envision finding for myself that are above and beyond just the safe zone?
the teller story tells it all, right?
Sure.
Because if you go in a place or in a zone where you're uncomfortable, it opens up so many other opportunities, and it opens up things that you may not have even thought about on the horizon for you. So if you put yourself out there in a place that you've not experienced before, you then remove all the barriers. The barriers are removed. You kind of let your guard down a little bit. So then you can see what the horizon could look like through a different set of lenses and through other people. Or you might run into someone else that shares or piques your interest in a different way that you never even thought about. So I think that's really important to expand the horizon and to get out of the little box that we've all put ourselves in.
I love that so much. So, and students, here's one way you can think about it. Take that tip. You can say like, oh, well, I don't have that many networking events or whatever that I go to or I'm invited to or whatever. There are career fairs. There are networking events. There are plenty of opportunities for you. I would extrapolate Allyson's suggestion one step further. Don't bring a friend to a career fair. What I find so often is when people bring a friend to any networking event, they're left babysitting them. They're left literally constantly thinking like, oh, does my friend want to go? Or do they not want to meet this person? Or what are they thinking? Like, you're trying to be courteous and kind and respectful to their time and not actually value yours. And so when there could be an opportunity for you to go meet somebody or to do this or do that, you potentially like lop off that concept because you're trying to be courteous to your friend. And so many opportunities come out of nowhere. Like maybe it's like you go to, you go to this career fair, you meet with the recruiter and they said, oh, I have an extra ticket to the school basketball game later this evening. Do you want to go? I've got one. If this is for a job opportunity, I don't want to be hamstrung by some friend that maybe we might go, whatever, hang out afterwards and do God knows what. I'd rather be with this recruiter at the basketball game because there's extra time that you could spend. Also, you get to have a good time if you like basketball. But I'm a huge fan of going by yourself because you never know what you'll experience when you do that. Because if you're feeling like you're always hamstrung to some friend or group of friends that you go do a networking with, you're never actually going to put yourself out there to meet new people. I almost would consider that like fake networking because you're not actually networking. At that juncture, you're like going to a space where you could be networking, but you're not actually going to exude that much effort to do so because you always have a comfortable home base. And if you have a comfortable home base, you will always prefer that over the uncomfortable meeting of new people.
That is so true. I was talking about the incident where I went and did some recruitment at one of the local colleges here. And that's exactly what happened. I had given the opportunity for the gentleman to I said, pitch yourself to me. He was with 2 or 3 other friends and they got the attention and I didn't. And on the resume, he had all the skills that we probably would have hired. He would have been an intern and we would have offered a position to, but they got the attention and I didn't. He was so focused on them talking about the next booth that they were going to go to and the disruption to our conversation where I finally just said, hey, why don't you go hang out with your friends? And when you're really looking for a job, come back and visit us. Yeah. And I wrote on the top of that resume, no hire, no way, absolutely not. Just doesn't have the maturity level to operate in our space.
Man, well, that's also a great point. For a student, if you do go with a friend, which I don't suggest that you do, for the love of God, do not interrupt your friend if they're in the middle of a conversation with the recruiter. Like, no shit, they're going to another booth. You all are going to another booth. It's a networking event. Like, go to wherever you need to go, but don't interrupt your buddy who's in the middle of a conversation for a potential opportunity that they might be able to pursue. Like, that's just disrespectful and rude. And you put your buddy, your friend, into a really difficult situation. Like, what, saying that they're moving to another booth? Like, is that gonna land you or them a job? No, it's not doing anything for them. So that's sorry for being a little over the top on that, but I totally agree, and that is so unprofessional. Like, it just it shows disrespect for your time as the recruiter for the role.
But it happens quite often. And that's where students, I think it's very important, because that does happen quite often when you when you're doing a career fair. Career fairs are very difficult already because you're on a time schedule. So there's so many people lined up to meet with the recruiters and whoever's there to do a representation. I'm just going to say, when you come, you maximize all of your time possible. That eye contact is very important. And that handshake, because if you've ever shaken my hand, you know you've shaken my hand. You will remember my handshake, because I use both of my hands to shake your hand. I grab it and I do the other one. And that's because I'm drawing attention to you. So when I announce myself, you will remember my name and I will remember your name, and I will not release it until we've completed our intros. So again, find something to set yourself apart when you're in those little, I call them speed dating moments. And when you're in those speed dating moments, you've got to do something that will make it where you're rememberable. Because that's all we have left is what do we remember you by? What did you do to set yourself apart from everybody else?
Love that. And I think one thing you can do is also be curious. Like, at the end of the day, Dale Carnegie in his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, he talks about, if you want to make someone feel really, and I'm paraphrasing here, but if you want to make someone feel really interested in you, show interest in them. Because, I mean, if you take a group photo with you in it, who's the person you look at first, last, and most often? It's yourself. And so if you can show interest in the person you're speaking with by asking them questions about their experiences in their role, how they got there, what they're enjoying about it, what the role entails, and just show genuine curiosity and interest in the role itself, just how Allyson showed curiosity and interest to her VP of HR when she was working as a paint teller, you are going to set yourself apart because you're showing curiosity and genuine interest in what they have to offer, which they are very interested in because it is about them. So let me take the time to ask the students one last question. What are you going to do differently when it comes to networking events moving forward? Post in the comments section. I'd love to learn, now that you've just kind of learned some really great tips from Allyson around just how to network in a genuine way. What are you going to do differently when it comes to networking events, career fairs, whatever it may be? Post in the comment section. I'd love to learn more. So Allyson, this has been a great workshop. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground today. One final question, how can the students stay in touch with you? Are you okay with them connecting with you on LinkedIn?
Oh, absolutely. So if they're looking at me on LinkedIn, it's Allyson_Cline, and it's got my SPHR. I think that's the acronyms behind it. Definitely if they link in, because I want to help. People have helped pave my way. So if you have questions or you just have general things that you want to ask, definitely connect, and I'm open to providing as much resources as I possibly can.
Well, Allyson, this has been great. Students, thank you all for being here. Allyson, thank you for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your day.